now I'd like to bring up our first speaker, Joint Venture Executive Director Don Bray.
Thank you, Rachel, and good morning, everyone. As you've heard, the primary focus of the symposium today is distributed energy storage. And the SEEDZ initiative has a lot of touch points and interesting potential future touch points with distributed or customer-side energy storage applications. Some of you have been involved in SEEDZ, some of you haven't. I'm going to take a few minutes and go through what the initiative is all about and where we see the opportunity for deployment of customer-side energy storage applications in the context of this smart energy network of the future that we envision under SEEDZ. Let's see if I can advance the slides here. Okay. So the SEEDZ initiative was launched in the second half of 2012. Joint Venture Silicon Valley convened 20-plus energy system stakeholders here in the Valley, a number of major corporate energy customers, local municipalities, smart energy solution providers. We had research interests involved, Pacific Gas and Electric and other utility interests. And we conceived this notion of a smart energy enterprise development zone. And the goal of this was to bring together the local community around the challenge of greatly improving performance and sustainability in our energy system. We have a unique set of resources here in Silicon Valley, a confluence of many riches in terms of what we can bring to this problem. This problem is front and center globally. We need to be a real example for the rest of the world in terms of deploying smart energy technology for both economic and significant environmental benefit in the future. And that's what this SEEDZ initiative is about. We spent a lot of time thinking about how to locate such an initiative. This is a big idea. Should we make this Silicon Valley-wide, Bay Area-wide? How should we do this? And we thought, well, it should really be centered in Silicon Valley, and we should hub this. We should look at a specific area so that we can really think about business-relevant use cases and work on deploying with a bit of a neighborhood effect. So we came up with the SEEDZ zone. It's North Mountain View, North Sunnyvale, and the Moffett Field area. This is our hub. It's an 8 square mile area, very interesting energy profile, about 200 megawatts of peak demand in this area, again, heavily commercial and industrially focused. 200 megawatts is about the same load as Maui. If you're looking for a useless cocktail party fact, that's how you can think about the SEEDZ zone. But an interesting order of magnitude comparison. About 13 megawatts of distributed generation already in this zone, mostly PV, but also some energy from landfill gas, from closed landfills in the area, fuel cells, cogen, and so forth. And interestingly, close to 1,000 EV charging stations now, probably the highest concentration of EV charging stations anywhere. A lot of the major local employers in the area are deploying these for their employees. And if you think about what's attached to that, this starts to get interesting. Okay, so imagine 1,000 level 2 charging stations. Imagine 1,000 EVs plugged in. And if they're all plugged in at once, and if it's the average EV, maybe it's drawing 6 or 7 kW. Maybe that battery is on average, and there's a wide range, I realize, but let's say it's 20 to 25 kilowatt hours. Multiply those by 1,000. That's 7 megawatts. That's 20 to 25 megawatt hours of storage connected already, just in this area. So, this is just one example of distributed storage and an asset that's already being plugged in that we can think about taking advantage of. Why does this matter? This is the classic greenhouse gas inventory analysis. We lump together Sunnyvale and Mountain View for purposes of example. And if you look at the top three hitters, transportation and then commercial and industrial electricity and gas use, that's almost 80% of the pie. So if we're going to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 80% by the year 2050, which is our goal in California, we have to come after these big pieces of the pie in a very significant way. And the good news is that this is really doable. When you get somebody out of a conventional vehicle into an EV, there's an 80 to 90% greenhouse gas benefit. We get everybody into EVs, we shrink that piece of the pie pretty fast. Around commercial and industrial electricity, great opportunities for significantly expanding renewables on the grid and shrinking that piece of the pie. Energy efficiency, everything we're doing, we should make more energy efficient, and of course, lots of parties locally are working on that. We need a more dynamic grid. We need a grid that closely balances supply and demand, that incents supply and demand from the right sources at the right time. So these four priorities are key to what we're doing within SEEDZ. We've put together this framework. Many of you have seen this before, the wheel. These are 8 elements that we consider essential to this smart energy network of the future. So integrated building systems, renewable energy, demand management, electric transportation, energy storage, grid infrastructure, interoperability, and financing and incentives. If we have all this, we can build this energy network of the future. The interesting thing is looking at how storage plays into this. Storage applications apply to virtually every one of the elements in the circle. It's a goes into proposition. So storage improves grid infrastructure. It enables demand management. It improves how buildings can be managed. It smooths and spreads renewable energy generation. Obviously, it supports electric transport. So lots of opportunity here. In terms of projects that we have underway within SEEDZ, we're doing a wide range of things now. We've deployed a power quality monitoring system in the area. I now get alerts if power goes out of spec on my cell phone, and you can get that too if you become part of the group. We are working quite a bit in the EV space. We have an interest group. We're working on building a EV charging center, 50 charging stations at the new 49er Stadium in Santa Clara. Probably the best example in the state of a destination charging facility. And we're doing some interesting energy management work around that. There's also storage and level 3 charging deployed as part of this. Distributed generation, we have a major program now going, looking to expand penetration of commercial net metered solar in the area, and we're working on 2 community solar programs, one in Sunnyvale and one in Mountain View. Around energy storage, we spent a lot of time on this over the last year, and so we can advance this. We have now met with 10 different major energy customers in the area, and working in concert with Strategy Consulting and with EPRI, we put together an assessment process to look at where there could be opportunities for large-scale deployment of behind-the-meter energy storage. So the use case we were looking for was a 1 or 2 megawatt load behind a meter, ideally peaky demand, and we were looking to find an opportunity where we could, in a sense, stack the benefits that you see here. Reduce demand charges, enhance and improve local power quality, provide backup, enable renewables integration, so that was a bonus if we could find sites that had renewables, and ideally generate new revenue streams from providing services back to the grid. Of the 10 organizations that we talked to, we found a couple that had pretty good matches with this, and we've done more detailed feasibility assessments at those places, and work is in process, and we're optimistic that could be an opportunity for large-scale storage there. I think what also comes out of this process, though, is the realization that there are a lot of opportunities for deploying storage on a smaller and more distributed level. This is a short list, kind of off the top of my head, of applications for customer-side energy storage that we've seen. So around electric transportation, independent of the battery that's in the vehicle, there's an opportunity to certainly smooth and spread level 3 charging by buffering charging processes with a battery. Non-grid attached charging, we've seen a lot of interest in our area in this, and some very interesting products emerging that have solar panels, a battery, and a charging system that you can wheel out to a parking lot, and that becomes a charging station, completely grid disconnected. Storage, a key piece of that. Aggregation, how do we aggregate all of the batteries that are plugging in and provide services by managing rate of charge? Very interesting opportunity. And then, of course, vehicle to building and vehicle to grid. Around DG, we can manage peaks and shoulder periods. So if a site deploys solar, it reduces energy drawn from the grid during the day, but then oftentimes there'll be a peak late in the day or early evening. As the sun starts to set, storage to draw down that peak is a real opportunity. We'll hear about that some today. Smoothing demand where PV is in place. Islanding, so how can we use PV systems and batteries to allow a facility to be completely islanded. And integrated building systems, demand charge management is a big opportunity that a number of firms are pursuing, and that there are a lot of interesting use cases emerging around. So these are just some examples. We're going to hear a lot about this today through the course of the presentations. And probably the key thing is that we really need to work on identifying specific use cases that customers can get their heads around, and that they can see and they can touch. We need to do a good job of finding these and communicating them, describing the value proposition around these. How do these help companies, save money and provide value through other value streams? It's probably an obvious thing to say, but this is a complicated area. There's lots of different uses. This is our challenge. I think Janice, our next speaker, will certainly take us further down this track. So thank you for your attention. If you want to become involved with SEEDZ and you're not already, by all means see me or see someone from joint venture, and we'll get you plugged in. Thank you very much.